Well, it's funny because I think the American public gets what's going on. And if you look at polls, what they show is that the majority of voters now, well, at least 50%, have rejected both Democratic and Republican parties. And according to Wall Street Journal poll last summer, which was their most recent that I'm aware of, they identified 21% as self-identified Republicans, 29% self-identified Democrats. So these are minority parties right now, and the majority of Americans have rejected them. And that's true, in current polls that show, enormous rejection of the current political system. The recent AP poll had something like 90% rejection, I think, of the political or lack of faith, lack of strong faith in our political system. It was something like 25% strong faith in the Supreme Court, 15% strong faith in the executive, and 4% strong faith in Congress. So people are not really believing what we're in, but we're kind of trapped in this box that tells people they can only vote for one of these two, and particularly among Democrats that one of them is so horrible. What I think the challenge is to have a real open discussion. Let's have a democratic debate. Democracy needs that. If we can't talk honestly now, when are we going to do it? And if we can't bring our values, our positive, affirmative values into an election, and we're just voting out of fear, what do our values then have to do with anything if we can't make the major decisions of society based on those values? There is a solution to this politics of fear. It's a simple voting reform that could be enacted with, in 36 hours. Any state legislature could adopt ranked choice voting, which essentially eliminates fear. It's a voting system used in many countries around the world, in many cities around the country, like San Francisco and Oakland and the Twin Cities and Cambridge and Portland, Maine. Basically, it says you can rank your choices. You can vote for the underdog as your number one. If your number one choice loses, your vote is automatically reassigned to your second choice. It eliminates this worry about, I may be, engaged in a hopeless cause, or I may be inadvertently helping someone I'm afraid of. We can fix that. When I first ran for office,
the two parties control the legislators. Why would they be motivated?
But the voters are motivated. And asking the question is very revealing, because if the Democrats in a democratic state that's all bent out of shape about, making our system less democratic and eliminating opposition voices, countries that eliminate political opposition, we invade them, we bomb them. We call that tyranny. And that's what we're doing if we essentially eliminate opposition. So in democratic states that are worried about their vote being split, I'd say voters, instead of making our system less democratic, talk to your legislature. Tell them they can pass the solution right now that will prevent any spoiling of the vote and ensure that if I'm running strong, but not strong enough, that comes back to Hillary Clinton if people consider her the second choice. And not everybody does. But they can prevent this disaster that they're so worried about. Why do they not do it? And my campaign worked with a progressive Democrat back in 2002 when I was running for governor, and we had a very real risk of that, divided vote. The Democratic legislature refused to pass the protection against it. 15 years later, they won't let that bill out of committee. Why not? Because they rely on fear. Why do they rely on fear? Because they're not your friend. They are enacting the agenda of their corporate sponsors, not meeting your needs. So their refusal, if they refuse to actually protect against this problem they're so worried about, if they refuse to fix it, that's extremely revealing. And it tells you they're not your friend and they don't deserve your vote to start with.